Good morning to everyone. So here, what are the methods to produce the plane polarized light? So in the previous video, I will explain first method by using a dichroic crystal method. Dichroic crystal method. Second one by reflection. Third one by refraction. Fourth one by double refraction. And the last one by scattering. These are the 5 methods used to produce the plane polarized light from unpolarized light. In this, the first method and also second method, these two are discussed in previous video. According to reflection, an unpolarized light is made to incident by reflection. An unpolarized light is made to incident on the transparent medium, surface of the transparent medium. It is unpolarized light means it is having both pi and sigma components in equal number. This is the normal drawn at the point of incidence. At a particular angle of incidence, the reflected light becomes plane polarized light which contains only sigma components, whereas the refracted light contains majority number of pi components and minority number of sigma components. Pi component means arrows. Sigma component means dots. Therefore, it is reflected light and this is refracted light. Reflected light is completely plane polarized, whereas refraction light is partially polarized light. So the angle of incidence at which reflected light becomes plane polarized is called angle of polarization IP, and this is also equal to IP. A refractive index of the transparent medium is mu. Now the relation between refractive index and angle of polarization is given by Brewster's law. According to that, mu is equal to tan IP. But a refractive index of the glass medium is equal nearly 1.5. For glass medium, it is a glass surface anukunte, mu z is equal to 1.5. Therefore, tan IP is equal to mu, that is equal to 1.5. Tan IP is equal to 1.5 means IP is equal to tan inverse of 1.5. It is approximately equal to 57.5 degrees. So, for glass, angle of polarization is 57.5 degrees. Means an unpolarized light is incident on the surface of a glass medium at an angle of 57.5 degrees, so that the reflected light is completely plane polarized and refracted light is partially polarized. It contains majority number of arrows and minority number of dot components. So this is the method to produce the plane polarized light from unpolarized light. It is called polarization by reflection. Next, second one, polarization by refraction. Second method is polarization by refraction. Polarization by refraction. So, in this case, suppose it is a cylindrical tube. It is a cylindrical tube having uniform area of cross section. Inside the cylindrical tube, 15 or 20 glass plates are arranged such that angle made by each glass plate with the optic axis is equal to 32.5 degrees. Suppose the number of glass plates which are arranged one over to other is known as the pile of glass plates. Pile of glass plates. Pile of glass plates. Suppose it is a cylindrical tube and this is one glass plate. It is the second one, third one. all the glass plates, 15 or 20 glass plates are arranged at certain angle with the optic axis. This is the optic axis or axis of the tube. each glass one makes an angle of 32.5 degrees with the axis of the tube. So this is first glass plate, second glass plate, third glass plate, fourth glass plate, and so on. Now, an unpolarized light is made to incident on the pile of glass plates. The combination of number of glass plates is called pile of glass plates. This is the unpolarized light having equal number of arrows and dots. An unpolarized light is made to incident on the glass surface. It is glass. At the point of incidence, let us draw a normal on the glass surface. It is the normal. This angle is equal to 32.5 and angle between the normal and surface is equal to 90, and this angle is equal to 90 minus 32.5, and this is approximately 57.5 degrees. 57.5 degrees is angle of polarization for the glass medium. So, an unpolarized light is incident on the glass surface at an angle of 57.5 degrees, so that the reflected light is, it is the reflected light. A reflected light is completely plane polarized, which contains only dot components. Whereas the refracted light passing through the first glass plate having partially polarized light means it contains unequal number of arrows and dots. Once again, the light coming out from the first glass plate made to incident on the second one, again at the same angle 57.5 degrees. Some more dot components are again reflected from the second plate, and the remaining one is transmitted through the second glass plate. This remaining one is also having partially polarized light, contains majority number of pi and minority number of sigma components. This light is again reflected such that it also contains some more dot components. That's why this unpolarized light, while passing through the pile of glass plates, and the light coming out from the pile of plates, or the light transmitted from the pile of glass plates, contains only arrows. Only arrows means it is a plane polarized light. Plane polarized light, and this is also called as the refracted light. So that's why the plane polarized light is getting by using pile of glass plates, and this is the method using polarization by refraction. Reflected light is always it is reflected, and also it is called as the plane polarized. Because this is the method to produce the plane polarized light by using polarization by refraction. And the third one, polarization by double refraction. Polarization by double refraction. It is also called as birefringence. Suppose here double refraction property or birefringence property can be exhibited by some of the crystals which are called as the double refracting crystals. The best example for double refracting crystal is quartz. Suppose here this is the double refracting crystal. An unpolarized light is made to incident on the crystal. This is unpolarized light, contains equal number of arrows and dots. And at this point, it is the normal drawn on the surface of the crystal. This makes an angle I, where I is called as the angle of incidence. Let here, in case of all transmitted or transparent crystals, some light will be reflected from it and the remaining light will be transmitted. Means there is only one refracted ray in case of normal transparent crystals. But whereas in case of quartz crystal, instead of one ray, there are two refracted light rays. This is the first refracted light, this is the second refracted light. Therefore, these two refracted light rays will be comes out from the crystal on the other side. Therefore, here the process of getting two refracted light rays instead of one ray is known as the double refraction. This property showing by the crystals are called as the double diffracting crystals, and this total property is also called as the birefringence. Again, this birefringence property can also be explained using a simple experiment. Means, suppose an ink dot is made on the white paper, and this white paper is kept on a horizontal table such that on this ink dot a quartz crystal is kept. This is a quartz crystal. A quartz crystal is kept. Also, that ink dot is seen vertically from the top of the quartz crystal, so that instead of one dot, we are observing two dots. These two dots represents two refracted light rays. This property showing by this crystal is called as the double diffraction. Right. Suppose here, this is the first refracted light, this is the second refracted light, and one of the refracted light contains only arrow components, only arrows. Remaining refracted light contains only dot components. Therefore, the refracted ray which contains only arrow components is known as extraordinary light ray. Extraordinary light ray, simply it is called as E ray. And the refracted light which contains only sigma components is called as the ordinary light ray. Ordinary light ray or O ray. Ordinary light ray. So, the angle made by the ordinary light ray with the normal is equal to R1, and R1 is called as the angle of refraction for ordinary light ray. Angle of refraction corresponding to the extraordinary light ray is equal to, it is R2. So, R1 is equal to angle of refraction corresponding to ordinary light for O ray, and R2 is equal to angle of refraction corresponding to extraordinary light ray. Next, how do you distinguish which one is ordinary light and which one is extraordinary light? Individually, both ordinary as well as extraordinary light rays, these two are individually taken as the plane polarized lights, because any light contains only either arrows or dots is called as the plane polarized light. So individually, E ray is also a plane polarized light, O ray is also a plane polarized light. Next, how do you distinguish which one is O ray and which one is E ray, and what are the differences between ordinary and extraordinary light rays? Suppose here, these two light rays will be coming out from the crystal, and this is the surface of the crystal. So on viewing this side by the eye, now the cross section of the crystal will be seen like this. So this is the cross section of the crystal. Suppose these two dots or these two extraordinary light rays, they are made to coming out from the surface of the crystal, means these two are light rays which are perpendicular to plane of the paper and outwards. Now, suppose if the given quartz crystal is rotating in one direction, one of the dot appears at stationary, another image that will rotate around the first one. Okay, na? On rotating the crystal in one direction, so that one of the image corresponding to the two refracted light rays remains stationary, and the remaining image corresponding to another refracted light ray rotates around the first one with the direction of rotation of the crystal. As the crystal is rotating in clockwise direction, one of this remains stationary and the second one is rotating about the first one in the same direction like clockwise. Therefore, the image which is stationary, the stationary image formed by always O ray, and the remaining image which can rotate around the first one, is called as the extraordinary light ray or E ray. Extraordinary light ray. So that's why Which one is ordinary light and which one is extraordinary light, that can be distinguished easily by rotating the crystal on seeing through one side from the crystal surface. The image which remains stationary, which appears to be stationary, is called as the stationary Ore, and the image corresponding to the refracted light which will rotate around the first one along the direction of rotation of the crystal is known as the extraordinary light ray. So here, for ordinary light, for Ore, this appears at rest means it appears like a dot. Appears like a dot means the wavefront corresponding to the Ore is called a spherical wavefront. It is the spherical wavefront. And for E-ray, the wavefront corresponding to the extraordinary light ray is elliptical always. Elliptical. This is spherical wavefront. For extraordinary light ray, the nature of the wavefront is elliptical. Second one, refractive index of the ordinary light ray is equal to mu naught is equal to, according to Snell's law, sin I by sin R1. So I is equal to angle of incidence. And also here, for extraordinary light ray, refractive index mu E is equal to sin I by sin R2. Sin I by sin R2. Where I is equal to angle of incidence, which is same for both the light rays. R1 is the refractive angle of refraction for O ray and R2 equal to angle of refraction for E ray. As the crystal is rotating, the E ray will be rotates. E ray will be rotates means R2 will be changes. O ray will remains at rest. R1 remains constant. I constant, R1 constant. So that's why mu naught equal to constant always. Here I constant but R2 variable. Therefore mu is also variable. That's why refractive index of the ordinary light rays remains constant in any direction. For extraordinary light ray, refractive index will be changes, or which is also called variable value in different directions. That means for ordinary light ray, it obeys Snell's law, and for extraordinary light ray, it does not obey the Snell's law. Does not obey the Snell's law. In the same way, as the crystal is rotating such that the nature of the wavefront corresponding to O ray, for O ray, nature of the wavefront is spherical. It is the nature of the wavefront corresponding to ordinary light ray. For extraordinary light ray, nature of the wavefront is elliptical one. This is the ellipse. For extraordinary light, mu value different for different directions. Mu is also, mu is inversely proportional to speed of the light. Now, on rotating the crystal, in case of quartz crystal, both E ray and also O ray appears at rest, but it does not appear at rest. It will be rotate about the axis of rotation. That's why velocity of the ordinary light ray remains same in all directions. Whereas for extraordinary light ray, velocity will be different in different directions, but refractive index will be changes here. So in some of the crystals, this is the wavefront corresponding to O ray, and this is the wavefront corresponding to extraordinary light ray. But in some of the other crystals, this is the nature. So here, what is the main difference between these two crystals? In this crystal, the sphere lies within the ellipse, but here ellipse lies within the sphere. So here, at this point, as the crystal is rotating such that speed of ordinary light and extraordinary light remains constant along this vertical line. Okay, na? Speed of the O ray and E ray remains constant. So a straight line along which O ray and E ray have the same velocity is known as the optic axis. Optic axis. Here also, this is the optic axis. This is the optic axis along which the light and both E ray and O ray has same velocity. Suppose here, let the crystal is rotating in clockwise direction, both will start at this point. This light ray will travel along this line and can reach the point in this point in a small interval of time, say suppose 5 seconds. In the same time, it will also move along this direction, reaches the same point in the same time interval. That means, at this direction, velocity remains same. But on moving along this path in the same interval of time, this light ray will reach this point, means it has the greatest velocity along this direction, means perpendicular to optic axis. Here perpendicular to optic axis, velocity of the extraordinary light will be greater than velocity of the ordinary light. But here this is the optic axis OA. Along this line, this is the nature and wavefront corresponding to the extraordinary light, and this is a sphere. Therefore, here also, on rotating the crystal in one direction, the same way it is having more velocity on reaching this point. Means velocity of ordinary light will be greater than velocity of extraordinary light in case of this type of crystals. So, VE greater than V naught for certain type of crystals and V naught greater than VE for certain other type of crystals. In general, if V naught greater than VE, these type of crystals are said to be positive crystals. Positive crystals. Examples of positive crystals are quartz. If VE greater than V naught, these are called as the negative crystals. Negative crystals. And example, this is calcite. Calcite and quartz. Both these crystals exhibits the double diffraction property. And in case of quartz, V naught greater than VE. And for calcite, VE greater than V naught, only these two are true along the perpendicular direction of the optic axis. But along the optic axis, always V naught equal to VE. V naught equal to VE. So this is the explanation about the double diffraction. Next one, what is meant by a Polaroid? What is a Polaroid? See, theoretically these two are very important. The sphere lies within the ellipse. Here, ellipse lies within the sphere. What is the nature of the wavefront corresponding to O ray?